What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Elevation with Chris Orm, the show where we talk to individuals who have climbed the ladder of success. Today, we have a very special guest, and this is Agnes Lorenz, and she is the Vice President at Zooz, a Z-Wave hardware manufacturing device that is really changing the entire industry. So with that, I'd like to welcome Agnes to the show for episode 26 of Elevation with Chris Orm. Agnes?
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for chiming in virtually. So it's a shame that we didn't get to do this in person, but I know you come to Vegas at least once a year for the CES, which is actually where we met. So are you coming for 2026? Do you already have your trip planned?
That's the plan. I'm definitely coming. We're still considering different ways to be at CES. As you know, it's a huge show. It's not just a show floor or many of the halls, right? There's so much other stuff going on. So we're still kind of debating on what the presence for Zooz will be this coming year, but we'll definitely be there in one way or another, for sure.
So I'd like to start off the show by talking about how Zooz, competently positions itself around the influencers, specifically at CES, in which they have sponsored the kind of CES influencer dinner that is put together by Brandon Doyle. So shout out to Brandon. So Zooz was the sponsor of this year's CES kind of influencer dinner. Tell us about kind of how Zooz got involved with that and kind of how Zooz maintains their relationships with these influencers, because these influencers are key to the industry.
I completely agree with that. I think it was just Brendan mentioning that the dinner is happening and kind of like casually mentioning that they may be looking for a sponsor. And we didn't have a booth this year at CES, so we were looking for different ways to kind of get involved in the show and just connect with people that and our potential customers, but also people in the industry, right? This is a pretty much an industry event. It's not like you see it's a consumer electronics show, but there's really not a lot of consumers browsing products at the show. It's really more of an industry event where you get influencers, you get the media there, and you get fellow people from the industry. So that was a great opportunity for us to connect with influencers from the smart home ecosystem. Not everybody uses Z-Wave. We're a Z-Wave manufacturer and recently almost strictly Z-Wave long-range manufacturer. So Z-Wave has made incredible progress within the technology and introduced something that's called a new generation Z-Wave long-range that allows you to build the network from 200 and something devices to 4,000 devices. It allows you to reach wireless signal up to a mile. It allows you to easily pair devices and build a reliable network that no longer relies on the mesh. So we wanted to make sure that people that are talking to our audience through YouTube channels or different channels in social media are aware that this technology is out there. A lot of the influencers, just as a lot of consumers, tried Z-Wave in the past. It was in its, maybe early iterations. They maybe didn't meet their expectations if they were trying to get out of the house or just, build a more reliable network. Right now, it's really no other technology, no other protocol comes close. And at the same time, because it's been 20 years since Z-Wave landed, the first device landed on the market, we now are looking at devices that are extremely versatile. They're very advanced. If you compare Matter devices to Z-Wave devices, it's really, Matter is in its infancy. So if you're looking for mature technology, Z-Wave is the way to go. We have multi-sensors. Our switches are also remote controllers. So there's so much happening in the technology that's not always, on kind of the front page of tech news, just because it's a traditionally security protocol, a little bit of a niche, but now we're hoping that because of its strength also to the consumer, it will gain a bigger presence. So it was a great opportunity for us to connect, meet with people, also listen to people that are using different smart home devices and see what else we can do. This is kind of how we've always built our products, was just listening to feedback from our customers, and nothing beats a face-to-face conversation. So we had a great time at that dinner, and we're able to meet with people that use different systems here, what's appealing in those different systems or different platforms to them. And then, hopefully we'll get to do it again next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably an incredible return on investment for you. I think it's getting it in front of all the right people. So, really, I was glad to be a part of that dinner. Hope to see Zooz make some presence again this CES as well. But I want to focus on what you said, that Z Wave is 20 years in the making. And I mean, let me guess. I guess ask two questions. So one, who kind of started Z Wave, and then my second question is that you mentioned the latest version of Z Wave is kind of the latest and greatest. Was there problems with earlier Z Wave that customers may have been disappointed in, and what's kind of changed? If you could touch on both of those two.
Yeah, absolutely. It was started by a company, I believe it was originally out of Denmark. I think the name of that company was Zensis. You can look it up and check me on that on Wikipedia. But that was a company that essentially started a protocol that was, from the get-go, designed to be a home automation protocol. That means it was low power and it was mesh network. So there was, these were radio devices that were going to talk to each other around the house, even without a central router or controller. So Z-Wave till this day has something that's called direct association, when you can directly link two or more devices together for them to talk reliably. That was always the number one thing, was reliability. Then it was interoperable. So from the very beginning, Z-Wave was designed as a protocol that would require certification and that would have the level of standard that would allow devices to talk to each other regardless of brand. So interoperability is something that Z-Wave always had. This is one of the issues that Matter was trying to solve, because, for example, Zigbee didn't have that. It was an open source thing. Everybody used their own commands, while Z-Wave always spoke the same language. Until this day, 20 years in, you have something that's called backwards compatibility with Z-Wave. So even if you buy a Z-Wave long-range device today, you can still include it to a hub that does not support Z-Wave long-range. You would automatically switch to the traditional Z-Wave protocol that's a mesh network. So it has that backwards compatibility across all the generation of devices. And you'll see a lot of people using devices that are 15 years old still today. And that compatibility continues because there's just a standard level of language on the programming side that allows the devices to talk to each other regardless of the age and when they were developed and when they were manufactured. So that's how it all started, and it's been gradually adopted primarily by the security industry. So another big feature of Z-Wave when it was first started was security. We all have heard stories about Wi-Fi, connected devices, how easy they are to hack, stuff like that. This actually, it's really hard to hack into Z-Wave, and right now we're on S2 and Smart Start inclusion, which is similar to what Matter implemented as well. When you're scanning a QR code, you get a security token that's unique to that device, so it's very, very hard to hack that network, which is rightly so, because we're talking about your home. This is meant as a home automation platform where you really want to keep everything that's inside of your home secure. There weren't many issues of reliability per se once a mesh was designed, but it was kind of inconvenient for anybody that was not a professional installer and that was designing a big network of devices from day one. Like, say you're just starting out and maybe you want a few sensors around the house and a hub, but the sensor you want is obviously, maybe in your utility room or in your attic, and it's kind of on the edge of the network. So then you have to start adding repeaters. And so things like that. Then Ring came along. Ring Alarm based their whole security system, life safety, on Z-Wave. So other security systems use Z-Wave as the kind of home automation element of that, but they still had their own proprietary protocols for security. But Ring was the first company that actually started using Z-Wave for life safety. And I think that they were probably part of that big movement of saying, hey, we can do more, maybe there's something more reliable and bulletproof that we can develop outside of the mesh network. And I believe that this is how they started working on Z-Wave Long Range, which is a direct hub-to-device communication. So it's a star network topology versus mesh. and it allows devices to talk directly to the hub. This way you have that kind of indestructible link, and you also don't need to worry about building a mesh. Now, if you're adding a device that's in your detached garage, it still will connect because of that incredible range that's been added to it. And the most beautiful part about that is it's been achieved through a software upgrade. So that means that you don't need a special chip. You don't need a hardware upgrade. All you need is really a new firmware layer on top of your devices. So from our standpoint, it was kind of easy to take all of our devices that we had previously developed on using the standard Z-Wave mesh network protocol and adding Z-Wave long range onto it, which is what we did last year. So in 2024, we upgraded our whole product line into Z-Wave long range. That obviously required certification and new firmware, but we were able to achieve it across the board because, again, it was developed thinking of backwards compatibility. And so this is really why we appreciate Z-Wave. It's standardized, but it's extremely innovative on the other hand.
That's awesome. And I can't imagine you just kind of stumbled into Z-Wave. So how did you first get involved with Z-Wave? How did you stumble into it?
Sure. Yeah. So the company was started by my dad, and he was a home automation kind of fanatic. He was looking into different protocols, and when he first started the company, which is probably around 2011, he compared, whatever was out there. It was early days for Zigbee. It was early days for Z-Wave. There was some Wi-Fi devices, but just looking at the security aspect of it and the compatibility aspect, I think that he realized very quickly that it's going to be an issue if devices from different brands don't work together. And so he set on Z-Wave thinking that it's really the most bulletproof solution for kind of an open home, if you will. He hates buying into a brand. Like, he's not an Apple user because then you have to have everything Apple. So that was his philosophy. Like, let's choose something that will, as a reseller, that's how we started. So we didn't start Zooz right away. He was reselling different brands. And as a reseller, it's important that you have devices from different brands and different companies working together, but also devices that will not become paperweight once the company goes out of business. So that off-cloud reliability was also key. If you buy a Z-Wave device, it will work locally forever. You can't turn it off. Like, we can't, if you buy our sensor, there's nothing we can do. We can't switch off the cloud because there's no cloud attached to it. So that local and a local and private connection is something very important, also from the business standpoint. So I think this is really why he set on Z-Wave, and that's how I kind of came into it. I came around 2014, 2015 when we were already starting to work on Zooz devices.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, to talk more about the products. So at first you were a reseller, and then you created the brand Zooz. So Zooz is a brand of hardware that people can purchase. What separates Zooz from other brands of Z-Wave manufacturers, right? I guess my question is directly like, what stops Zooz products from becoming just commodities? A Z-Wave smart switch, for instance.
Yeah, that's probably the most competitive category and one that we make the least money on. But we've managed to position our switches really be up there in the top three, and maybe I think that maybe only Lutron, which is not Z-Wave to start with, gets more praise online in terms of smart switches right now. I think that we were really focused on listening to what customers were asking for. In the early days, we were reselling different brands of switches. And one of the biggest wins for us was that we heard customers not being too happy about purchasing additional switches for three-way and four-way installations. In the US, it's, especially if you're buying a home, you're trying to automate it, and, certain homes, because of just the layout of the houses, you'll have 2-3 different locations controlling the same light. And so that equaled, a big investment. It was $100 just to automate a single light because you had 3 switches, right? Yeah. So, and this was in a day when, smart bulbs weren't really around. Plus, controlling smart bulbs from the switch is quite cumbersome even till this day. So people were looking for an alternative. And, we took that feedback back to the manufacturers, but nobody was really interested in changing whatever was already selling. There was less competition, and you know how it goes. So we saw an opportunity there, and the first thing that we did was one of our first products were Z-Wave switches without an add-on switch. So a solution that used a mechanical 3-way and 4-way switch on the other end. And then somebody copied us, so we did another one that was even easier to wire and to install, and we got a patent on that. And this is kind of where our innovation came in. So we innovate around customer needs. So we hear what customers are asking, and then we figure out the engineering behind it, and then do some magic on our end to make it the least expensive option on the market at the same time. And we keep adding features. So we're not afraid to update firmware. Updating the firmware is not just the cost of developing the firmware and software for it, but it's also the cost of maintaining documentation internally and externally. You have to keep tabs on the change logs, how you inform and sell the products to the customers. So it's a lot of work. But through that, we're kind of able to arrive at a good position where customers see that they're getting really good value for the product, and extremely responsive and just really expert customer service that is submerged in the home automation world. And we understand that when we're selling a product, we're not selling a Z-Wave switch. We're selling 10 Z-Wave switches. We're selling a Z-Wave switch on SmartThings. We're selling a Z-Wave switch for Home Seer. We're selling a Z-Wave switch for Home Assistant. So we maintain documentations for all of those platforms and are guiding people through that world to help them achieve what they set out to achieve. This is also part of the reason why we love working with influencers, because we see you guys as our partners in educating people and helping them out, because we're not there when it comes to setting up a smart home yet, right? It's not super easy. You need help and guidance.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, it seems like, Zooz was an early adopter of the smart home. It seems like you guys have been playing around with this before smart homes were cool. And I think we're still at the very early stages of smart homes. So correct me if I'm wrong. So Zooz manufactures hardware. And then what about the software? So you mentioned a couple of the platforms where people play around with. Does Zooz also make software, or is Zooz strictly hardware?
Yeah, so this smart home industry, the way I see it, I think that most people would agree, is an ecosystem. And so there's a hardware and software layer to both of them. So this is what I call, user experience companies. Like, I would not call Apple software or hardware. They're a user experience company. And so this is how we look at our products as well. And that's why we look at them always in the context of the ecosystem and the platform they're going to appear in. So part of the beauty of Z-Wave is that there's a standard for software. So we outsource the software to the factory. So when we're developing a product, we design all the specs, and we set the expectations and the functionality, and then the factory is able to develop the software layer of Z-Wave for us, because it's standardized. There's, it's a protocol that has standard ways of communications through standard command classes, and there's a lot of rules to follow. So they're able to achieve that with then the kind of guarantee that it will work well with most of the platforms that follow the same rules. But that being said, there is a level of custom integration required for some of our devices to then display correctly and provide that friendly user experience on different platforms. So take Home Assistant, which is popular open source platform. It has a Z-Wave driver that's kind of written by the book, and as long as our devices are also programmed by the book, they will work out of the box. But if you go with SmartThings, it has a really nice app, but it does require a lot of extra code, and we have to write custom drivers for all of the functionality to come through, because some of the custom features are lost because they're going more for simplicity and they have a different strategy with their business. So there's that effort to kind of find the best way to provide good user experience through partnerships and through providing quality integration. So that's our big focus. That's been our big focus since the beginning.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. Like the more I kind of unpack what Zooz is, I mean, it's extremely fascinating. So you have all of these products in different categories. So would it be safe to say that Zooz is manufacturing kind of products in every category?
Not every category. We're still missing a door lock and a thermostat, which are ironically one of the first devices that people usually buy for their smart home. And that's only because we haven't been able to find a good partner. As I mentioned before, we do all of our manufacturing through partnerships with factories that specialize in certain type of hardware, so we can make sure that they will maintain the level of quality that we require, both on the hardware and software side. So we've been working with a few manufacturers to achieve like the big two devices that we're missing in our portfolio. But I would say that we definitely offer, we have the widest Z-Wave portfolio out there. We have sensors, security sensors, we have multi-sensors, we have switches, dimmers, we have a wide range of scene controllers and remote controls. We have a flood protection solution, a shutter valve, and a leak sensor. We have relays that allow you to really automate anything. These are dry contact relays that you can turn almost anything analog into Z-Wave. So sprinklers, fireplace, all kinds of stuff that you can make smart just by connecting them to those relays. So there's a lot of different devices. We have a great device that turns your analog smoke and CO detector to Z-Wave commands as well. It's like a little relay that you connect to one of them, and then it becomes a smart CO and smoke detector. So we're always looking for new use cases and new devices, but yeah, we have over 30 different products right now across all the most popular categories.
And then, so let's say I don't have anything for my smart home and I go to Zooz.com. Is there like a package where I could get one of everything? The beginner smart home package?
GetZooz.com. I wish we had Zooz.com.
Yeah. GetZooz.com.
We don't sell a package, but I would say, and also we don't sell directly from that website. We sell from the smartesthouse.com, which was our mother company, the first website that we used for reselling other brands before Zooz was developed. So Zooz was kind of developed as a house brand for the smartest house. There are startup bundles. We do have our own hub. I know that you asked if we develop software as well. So we partner up with Fibaro that had the best Z-Wave platform in our opinion. We're always testing everything. It's kind of like a textbook Z-Wave hub. So if somebody's looking for, a Z-Wave focused smart home, you can pick up one of the starter packs with the Z-Box. Then one is more kind of security leaning with different sensors, and the other one is a flood protection one that, you have a few leak sensors and a shutter valve. This is probably where you want to start. We don't have a sample of all of the devices because we find that this is not usually how people will go by use cases. So they want to do one thing. They want to do lights, or they want to do sensors, they want to do flood protection. So we have some kits around those use cases in particular. But by all means, if you want to go and buy one of everything, go for it. We have a sale around every major holiday too. So.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. So, Agnes, I know you were just a guest on the Home Assistant podcast. We just had Phil on as our last guest, actually. So I was talking to him about like the home custom integration business where people are installing these devices and making a business and making money out of it. Where I'm like almost heading to that is like Home Assistant as the platform, Zooz is the best as most reliable and full package suite. I mean, we're just missing two categories. I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could solve that problem this year if you really wanted to. I just see that as such like a play, like the best bang for your buck. Like, I think that really the CEDIA channel doesn't see how your company and Home Assistant and these sort of devices are better than Savant, Crestron, Control 4, right? No knock to them, but you can achieve the same result or more using Zooz products on Home Assistant. And I think there's like no one's playing this yet. And I mean, even talking to you, I see this as such the play, right? If you had a package, the one of everything package, right? I think
Yeah.
that could be a future for Zooz.
Yeah, if you think that this is what's going to appeal to the CEDIA channel, right? It's been challenging. The CEDIA channel really has helped us develop one of our most successful product lines, which is the wall control scene controllers, the multi-button wall controls that are were always a staple of the smart home from the Savant and Control 4 world. I think that there's it is a little bit more of a conservative channel, but to be honest, when we went to CEDIA, I don't think it was, so last year, we went to CEDIA last year, and there were a few people going around telling us that they're planning to base their business model on Home Assistant or Habitat. And I thought that that's a good sign. And we saw even more people like that during the alarm show, ISC West in Vegas this past spring. There's definitely people are starting to pick up on it. There's companies that are using the Z-Wave JS driver to connect to Savant or Control 4 to connect Z-Wave to those platforms as well, right? So there's different ways to kind of get in there because it's not just about the price, although the price is a huge factor. I don't know what that dimmer or switch has to be to cost $100. I mean, I can't imagine what it can do. It's a simple relay or or a Tri-X. So there's nothing that you can put there that would justify that cost, other than just being one of the few players, right, and making it sound like it's high end. But we're past that. We have software that's open source that's available to everybody. It does require a little bit of agility and just like a little bit of creativity as well. But that's what we've been trying to tell people, that you can reach a wider audience because not everybody will have $50,000 or $60,000 to spend on a smart home or even to start it, right? Some people may have $15,000, and you can still make a good amount of money by purchasing our products. We're at a very comfortable spot right now where we have enough margin for professionals. We have a pro portal at the smartest house that doesn't require any minimum purchases. You can buy 2 or 3 switches and you're still getting your installer price. So you don't need to stock up or anything. So there's ways to incorporate more value to your customers and then gain that kind of, because there's a lot of people that don't have the time to figure it out. So that's what I'm saying is like, people ask me, like, what do you think about bridges between Matter and Z-Wave? When are we going to see that? And, there are ways to bridge those devices, and then those bridges are the installers. The professional installers are able to bring different technologies together and bridge them and really offer your customers the best value by seeking out companies that are innovating not only on the technical side, but also innovating on the business side through different distribution models, through having a healthy supply chain that are able to keep prices down. And the way you operate your business will absolutely affect the final price of your product and the margins that you are allowed to give to your professional customers, business customers.
That's fascinating. So if you had to tell us where most of your end users are hanging out, like what percentage of it is Home Assistant?
Mm-hmm. I could probably give you that answer more accurately a couple of years ago when I was more involved in customer service. Now I'm so blessed and we have incredible people handling that for me most of the time. So I don't have the greatest feel now, but I would say that Home Assistant is definitely the fastest growing. So this is the platform that all of the consumers that become a little bit more serious about smart home end up. Because the reality is that there's no other platform that has figured out compatibility in the same way. And they've only been able to figure it out because they have, 15,000 developers. It's an open source platform. It's the biggest open source project in the world. And through different integrations, whatever people around the world need for themselves, these are the people that usually are comfortable writing code. That soon is going to change because, people will have that skill kind of almost integrally. Everybody will be able to write code and integrate. They have figured it out. So now, I installed solar panels and they were on my network, and Home Assistant included the solar panels, my TV, everything. I didn't need to do anything. It all appears, it all works. So now I can install our scene controller here in the kitchen, and whenever I want my kids to stop watching TV, I just press a button. I don't need to go to my phone. I don't need to go downstairs. I don't need to yell at them. I just press that one button that's convenient, in my kitchen, and it turns off the TV. It can do so many different things. So they've done an incredible job, and frankly, they're becoming more of a strategic partner to companies like ours. SmartThings had a big announcement, about integration with Home Assistant. So I would say that this is the fastest growing platform. SmartThings remains a very popular hub for us. Habitat is also quite popular. We're getting more and more customers using the ZBox hub as well, but I don't think anybody's growing as fast as Home Assistant. This is kind of like the final stop for people doing home automation.
Did you see this growth coming? Like when you first got started in home automation, did you know this wave was coming?
I did not know it would come from Home Assistant, although I know some people that always tell me like open source, for the win. There's no way to compete with open source. It's hard to see it coming because when Home Assistant first started, before Z-Wave.js really, when Z-Wave.js came on board and that code was created a few years ago, and then Home Assistant embraced it. They hired the guy that wrote the Z-Wave.js driver, and they started going into into supporting the Z-Wave Alliance as well. This is when we thought, okay, there's a big opportunity. And I think even till this day, Home Assistant has millions of users, but only maybe 10% or a little bit more use Z-Wave. So I think that this is, now we see it clearly. We did not see it in the beginning just because of the user experience barrier. It was very hard to set up Home Assistant. They since have come a long way. I think it's part of their mission to make it more accessible. So with Home Assistant Green, it's so easy to set it up. It's probably easier than most, hubs, even like maybe easier than SmartThings these days to set it all up because it picks up everything. You don't need to look around for integrations or anything like that. So it was kind of a surprise, but obviously now it makes sense. This is the biggest challenge, and it's always been the biggest challenge, is things not working together and people having to, jump through hoops to get two devices from different brands working together. Even in the Z-Wave world, there's then, it's compatible, but if you wanted the additional functionality, or sometimes something wouldn't display correctly, there's always then, it's hard work to provide quality integration. So I'm personally happy that Home Assistant has come around and is solving that problem.
Yeah, that's crazy. So this is going to be a live moment, right? I really just have a feeling to do this, but I really want to start that Home Assistant x Zooz integration business. I feel it, right? So
sure.
When you feel something, you definitely do it. I know that, if you're in almost every category, minus the two that are probably going to be coming here very soon, I think it's just such the move, and I've been calling it for years. So I'm almost tired of calling it, and let's make it happen. So
let's do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about it offline, but I think it's a big opportunity that I think we'll tackle. So we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I agree, and they have some exciting announcements this year that you'll probably hear about soon as well. That will make that even more exciting. So I don't want to spoof it. I don't want to talk about it quite yet, but you'll see it you'll know it when you see it. And we're also we're working with Home Assistant, as I said, strategically. We're probably finalizing the Works With certification with them officially. All of our devices have worked great with the Z-Wave.js driver, but we're going through that certification process officially as well to, again, give that extra badge of confidence to our customers, but also to our potential business customers that are willing to utilize the platform to their business. And because Home Assistant is now part of the Open Home Foundation, it actually is a smart business decision. So I think that you're absolutely thinking in the right way, because so many businesses or even smart home systems have just disappeared overnight because, you're part of a huge company. They can flip a switch. Like Samsung could flip a switch on SmartThings any day, right? It doesn't seem unlikely now, but who knows? Maybe 2 or 3 years from now, they're going to get distracted. They've already gotten distracted with Matter development, I think. All of those big guys that were involved in Matter so much now are all doing AI stuff, and they got distracted, and it's no longer the thing,
Yeah. So if someone wants to get Z-Wave in Home Assistant, they need obviously the Home Assistant processor. Do they need any sort of dongle? How does Z-Wave integrate into Home Assistant?
Yeah, you need a Z-Wave radio for Home Assistant. So even with Home Assistant hardware, so they have Home Assistant Yellow and Home Assistant Green. That has almost all of the elements in it, but it doesn't come with a Z-Wave radio. So you need a Z-Wave radio with that, and we have either a Z-Wave stick or we have a board that goes on top of the Raspberry Pi element. We have a great partnership with Tube's Zigbee as well that allows power over internet integration for our Z-Wave GPIO module. So this is something that you guys can check out as well. But there's always that you need, for Home Assistant, you need the computer components, so you can get their hardware or get your own Raspberry Pi. The software obviously comes open source, comes free. You have to pay for cloud if you want to have cloud access or set up your own cloud. And then for the Z-Wave part, you have to get the radio. So we have 2 different products. Both support Z-Wave long range, and Z-Wave JS works beautifully with Z-Wave long range. They updated recently the pairing process, and you can easily scan Smart Start QR codes from devices. So it's a nice streamlined process of adding those devices with Z-Wave long range capabilities right now.
Nice. I think I'm going to make like an online kind of like intro package. I know there's so many people that do like Home Assistant 101 tutorials, but I think they're missing like the whole package, hardware included.
I think the more there is, the better. Sometimes you have to say it in a different way almost, different perspective. And you get it from your experience and from your, installation, and just like, you're kind of already in it versus a person just starting out. So yeah, do it, definitely.
As far as like Zigbee versus Z-Wave, so for someone that doesn't know what either of those 2 things are, they might hear the terms Zigbee, Z-Wave, Matter. What's difference between Z-Wave and Zigbee and Matter?
Yeah, so Z-Wave is the only full stack protocol. That means that it includes all of the layers from, it's the radio and it's the software, it's the command classes. So it comes as a full package. So that's why it's the kind of most coherent of them all, and it's the most intercompatible. Compared to Matter, which is really just, it's really just about adding devices and devices being recognized, but you can do Matter on Thread, or you can do Matter over Wi-Fi, and then it depends on the manufacturers what functionality is displayed in the Matter controllers. So you'll see a lot of Matter devices right now that say, it's a Matter device, but if you want all of the functionality, you need to get our bridge anyway, right? So it's kind of like that story that Z-Wave went through growing pains as well, where it's Z-Wave, it works, but some of the functionality may not be visible. And this is really the hard work of integration. So we as manufacturers have to go through that thorough integration process. And Zigbee, to be honest, it doesn't have that Z-Wave long-range capability, and I don't think that any of the other protocols, Thread or Wi-Fi, can really compete with Z-Wave when it comes to the amount of power it uses. And under Z-Wave long-range, it's very, very low power. And the range, right? Z-Wave long range is really a direct competitor to LoRaWAN. That is this whole thing that requires cloud and is used in commercial applications. But if you have a good antenna on Z-Wave, you can really reach over a mile, rely over a reliable connection. So none of the other protocols have that. And then there's that maturity as well. So Zigbee products, there's some people that advocate for Zigbee because they're usually cheaper, but they're more scattered, and the compatibility is not always the case. You have to look very closely what's going to be supported. That being said, there are some devices that I probably would go with Zigbee versus Z-Wave. For example, color control. Philips Hue really dominated that space, and a lot of other manufacturers followed. So there's no equivalent of color control on that same level on the Z-Wave side. Z-Wave kind of slept on that for the longest time. So we have an RGBW controller for LED strips, but we don't have a Z-Wave bulb, right? So depends on what you're looking for. Sometimes you may want to go with one protocol versus the other. Obviously there's certain things that sub-gigahertz protocols like Zigbee and Z-Wave can't do at all, like video streaming. So you'd have to go, security camera will always be Wi-Fi because it needs more bandwidth. So I think that, there's, I wouldn't say that one, is the winner. The way I see the ecosystem growing is that it's great to have choice. It's always great to have competition for both consumers and manufacturers. This is a healthy situation to be in. And you have different protocols that can work together. With systems like Home Assistant, you don't even know what's Wi-Fi, what's Zigbee, what's Z-Wave. It all shows up in the same app. It all can interact together. It all connects. And as long as it works, as long as the manufacturer provides a quality product and it's priced well and it's maintained, it's secure, that's a big thing. So you definitely look into that, because I'd say that some Wi-Fi devices are nowhere as secure as the Z-Wave devices. But as long as they're secure, reliable, and as long as they have the functionality that you need, by all means, take whatever's best for you, like whatever brings the best value to you. So
that's awesome. So it sounds like that you embrace kind of capitalism, the open marketplace, open source, kind of letting the consumer do what they want.
Yeah, I more would choose the word democracy versus capitalism, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's the European in me talking. But yeah, it's the freedom of choice for sure. And it's the healthy marketplace where you have competitive space for people to come in, and it's less restricted, right? So that's why I feel like open source is amazing, because nobody can take it away and lock it right now. Home Assistant, the way it's been structured with Open Home Foundation, it will be there for people to use privately and however they want, and they will own it. And it's a similar philosophy behind Z-Wave devices that are off-cloud devices. So that means if you buy a Zooz device today, I can't switch it off for you anytime in the future. I can't make you pay for it. Cloud connectivity, obviously, that's a huge cost, and that usually is not offered for free. So if you wanted to have cloud connectivity to Home Assistant, for example, you have to pay for cloud. But locally, those devices will always work. There's nothing we can do to take them away from you. And so that's a big part of that. And I feel like that's something that consumers deserve today. They're buying things for their home, and they want to set them up to own them. So we need to figure out a business model that will work for all of us and will allow. But yeah, it's more of, it is an ecosystem, and we have to have a mindset of us working together with our competitors, working together with making our competitors into partners. This is kind of our approach to our business, and to making Zooz work well with other brands, with other products, and even with people that we compete with. We always are open to partnerships, exchanging information, supporting one another, building, a good offering for everyone in the industry.
Nice. About how many manufacturers are manufacturing similar products to you? Do you have single-digit competitors? Do you have just tons of no-name competitors that are manufacturing Z-Wave devices? Talk to me about the landscape, because I don't know. So just from maybe a high-level perspective, who are the manufacturers? You don't have to list them by name, of course. We only
Yeah,
need to know
there's
the most
not
important.
many of them. There's not many of them. So because Z-Wave has been around for 20 years, there's been a lot of consolidation in the industry as well, which is not necessarily a good thing. To be honest, I wish we had more competitors. And there's definitely more no-name Wi-Fi brands because it's much easier to build a brand on a protocol that's already familiar to the consumer. So we're in the consumer space, and in the consumer space, there's really maybe 3 or 4 brands that we compete with on different products. So it's a very privileged position. But as I said, it's good to have competitors because they push you to do better. They also push you to innovate around the business model so you can remain competitive. And so it's a pretty niche industry still, I would say. So we're big in our niche, but it's still a niche.
Sure. If I go on eBay and I search like Z-Wave light switch, what's going to come up?
Why would you go on eBay, man, for Z-Wave switch?
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
Is there going to be kind of like commodities, or is it going to be Zooz coming up? Like,
yeah,
what am I
there's really
gonna find?
no name brands. I think that it was like this cable manufacturer. I can't remember that name already. That wasn't Z-Wave, but I think that most of the commodity brands or companies already left Z-Wave. It is really it's not easy to sell it because you need to maintain compatibility and integration with different platforms. So and hardware is a hard business. So I would say that if you go and look for a Z-Wave switch right now, you'd find a Jasco switch, maybe a Home Sears switch. But you definitely, in terms of Z-Wave, I feel like Zooz switches will be right on top there. So and sensors, AOTech manufactures sensors. I think they're still pretty strong in that. There's really not that many brands that are left, to be honest, because it's you have to put a lot of effort into maintaining the quality, especially if you have good competitors. Also harder to compete, right? We're not the greatest competitor. We make quality devices that are pretty cheap. We're kind of like our competitors' worst nightmare. That are also supported by quality service. Yes, I think that we're in a comfortable position, but I want to say that we're going to probably see more with Z-Wave long range as soon as people realize the capabilities of that technology. There's going to be more manufacturers that come into the space, and as the smart home landscape also changes, with Home Assistant, I think, right, once we apply the AI and the LLM layers, and programming is kind of more natural to people and will be much more accessible. The information that our hardware is able to provide will now become kind of inputs for just helpful tips, or right now people are looking at graphs and trying to analyze what it all means, my energy use and stuff like that. Once we get to a point where we're going to be like briefed around about our house, and we won't have to set up automations, but just by adding a switch and a sensor, the system will kind of automate itself. This is when we're going to see more and more manufacturers come in and see, this is when it's going to be about not just which protocol sounds familiar to the user, but what protocol can actually deliver the fastest information with least power, longest range, and the most secure. So this is when Z-Wave is really strong, and this is when I see an opportunity for other manufacturers. So I do invite everybody that's thinking about becoming a manufacturer to check out Z-Wave long range, because it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it right on the head. I'm sure being a hardware manufacturer is not an easy task by any means. But I know Z-Wave is being supported by some of the biggest kind of platforms in the world, including Alarm.com. So Alarm.com, I know they have integration for Z-Wave devices. For instance, how would Zooz get involved in becoming kind of in the Alarm.com space?
Yeah, Alarm.com is a huge platform, and we've devoted a lot of resources and energy to kind of get in there, trying whatever we can. And it's usually you have to present a good business case, right? And so we did an integration with Alarm.com last year for our remotes, and they saw a business opportunity with Z-Wave remotes. This is kind of like a no-brainer thing where you're adding convenience to the platform. This is how I try to explain it to alarm dealers for Alarm.com specifically. One scenario is you're putting a panel into the house, and it's on one side of the house. Then the other side of the house, like front door, back door, is kind of, there's nothing there, right? So if you're leaving through that, you want to arm the alarm quickly, you have to go to the app. By the time you open alarm.com, you're on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, you're like, what was I doing? You want to avoid that. So you can get one of our little remotes that looks like a switch, stick it on the wall, and with a single button, you can arm it. So you put it on the wall, the cost to the dealer is minimal. They can really offer that for free to their customer, but on that first day, they're creating a positive interaction with the system. Alarm.com really relies on of high engagement with the app. But nobody really wants to engage with your alarm app because it's usually a negative experience. There's like an event happening or something like that, right? So you want to add more convenience features, and it's there's a lot of research showing that the more connected devices you have on the app, the more likely you're going to stay with it when you move. So through home automation devices like the Z-Wave remotes, for example, you're going to get more and more positive interaction, and because the cost of them is very minimal, really. You can be that hero, and you can be that guy that on the first day of installation, when they're really writing a big check, you can give them something for free, and then kind of ease the pain a little bit. And so the remote control integration with Alarm.com, it was a lengthy process, and it really happened. They approached us. It really has to happen like that. If you're a small company like us and working with a big company like Alarm.com, you kind of have to drop everything and make sure that you do the integration right. It's a similar experience we had with Ring when they were integrating our water shadow valve. You want to make sure that you do whatever it takes for the product to meet their standard, to support them during that integration process, because at the end, they are big because they do provide incredible user experience. So the remotes look great in the app. It's very easy to program them. I think that they did a great job integrating the Sync controllers and the Z-Wave remotes in Alarm.com. And similar with the shadow valve on Ring, on the Ring app. Once you include our Titan shadow valve to your Ring app, it automatically detects whether you have leak sensors and asks you whether you want the leak sensors to trigger the valve, and you just have to click yes. You don't have to go into the app, create an automation, if then, whatever. It just automatically does it for you, which is how it's supposed to work. But Ring only has that one automation. So they have a long way to go still. So it's really, it's not easy for a smaller company like us to work with bigger companies like Ring or Alarm. But we try to, gain that exposure by providing excellent service to our customers so they can start asking for it.
Sure. So you mentioned that, you listen to a lot of your customer feedback, is what you just told me. So as far as Patrick Bet-David, one of my favorite people on YouTube, he wrote a book called Your Next 5 Strategic Moves. If you could tell us just some of your next 5 or so strategic moves, what are you working on for the last half of the year? What can we expect kind of going forward?
Yeah, we're working on a few different new devices. So we're focusing on releasing a new Z-Wave devices, expanding our portfolio. That's how you grow in the hardware world. And last year, our focus was on upgrading everything to Z-Wave long range. We really saw an opportunity just to improve our customers' user experience immensely. So we only released one new device, which is not typical for us. Like we try to do like 5 or 6 years. So that's what we're doing this year. And in the next couple of months, we're going to have at least 4 new products. So one of them being a Z-Wave siren alarm that we haven't had for a while. We had 2 different models in the past, but now I feel like with this one, we really perfected the product. It's a plug-in device that's super small but very loud that you can upload your own sounds to and control, trigger anything in any language. You can, obviously with AI now you can generate you can generate any sound that you can put on it. It has an LED indicator that can warn you of different things visually. So that's a great device that we're really excited about, and we're doing that. At the same time, we're really working closely, as close as possible, with all of our platform partners to continue providing good integrations. As I said, we have that partnership with Home Assistant we're working on. We're working with SmartThings on migrating some of the old drivers to their new platform. So we're trying not to lose sight of our existing platform partners and looking for new platforms, anything that we can do. Like we're integrating the ZBox hub with Home Assistant as well, trying to just expand the reach to make Z-Wave long range in particular, more accessible to users. So that's another thing that we're doing. And obviously we're looking at our supply chain like everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so trying to be strategic about that, talking to our existing partners, looking for new partners to make sure that we don't have to burden our customers with, the political climate that we're in right now. So we're trying to do the hard work so our customers don't feel it in their pockets. So that's been a big focus for us, and a little bit of breaks to our investments, and we have to allocate some resources to kind of get a hit over there. But I think it's important for us to kind of be strategic and responsible when it comes to supply chain. That's part of that process. It's not just about designing cool products and ordering them at the factories. We're also responsible for maintaining a healthy supply chain, and that's something that we've always been pretty good at. We have healthy stock levels, don't run out of stock too much. So we've been thinking about that a lot as well. I would say
Nice.
that's the main things.
Very cool. So maybe this realization just happened to me, but you're an e-commerce store, correct? Like, do you guys run off Shopify? Like, talk to me about running an online store.
Yeah, we use Shopify as our platform, and that's something that we've always used Shopify. So when we opened the store, that was probably like 2012 or something like that, and Shopify was not the same name as it is today. But we kind of called it. We saw that this is the platform to go with, and it's proven. It's not without its downsides, but for us, we're really utilizing all of the platforms and the technology that there is to also keep the size of our team as small as it is, because it's possible thanks to Shopify, right? Shopify just being also a cloud platform, it always adds new features. So that's where we run the store. I would say that we're probably over 50% sales are on Shopify versus Amazon. This is part of our effort in the past few years has been to transfer sales from Amazon to Shopify, just because we're able to offer much lower prices to our customers without the fees on Amazon that are now famous. Everybody knows about them, so I don't need to talk about them. But that's been a struggle and a big focus of ours. But we've been quite successful in putting in an attractive enough offering to our customers over there. So yeah, we're hopefully going to open a new fulfillment center. We currently ship everything from the East Coast. We want to open a new fulfillment center on the West Coast as well to further compete with Amazon, because we can't really compete on the logistic level, but we can do a little bit more for our customers on the West Coast as well. So that's the plan.
Sure. I mean, it sounds like you've really been killing it on efficiency, timing, getting into the market, like knowing the right platforms, the right people, having the right product, getting in front of the right people. So it really just seems like you're growing incredibly well. It seems like you know what you're doing in terms of business. It seems like you're in the right niche, the right area with Z-Wave. It sounds like you found a great partner or great protocol within Z-Wave. So I'm really just excited to continue to see this grow kind of as our smart home revolution grows. But it's been an incredibly fascinating and exciting hour, Agnes. So I really thank you for your time today. Like, thanks for sharing what you're doing at Zooz and with Z-Wave to the audience today.
Yeah, great talking to you, and I hope you do execute on that amazing plan of, Home Assistant and Zooz offering, because, yeah, I mean, we're here for that. Anything you need from us, product samples, whatever, just say the word. And yeah, it's been great talking to you. I think that, it's always so refreshing to talk to somebody that understands what needs to happen next,
Yeah.
And where the value is.
We just had a guy buy an $800 Lutron light switch, so like I know the money's there, I know the needs there. It's just like a better bang for your buck, and like that's what I see you doing, that's what I see myself doing. I think that's what the DIY influencers, that channel is all doing. So really just excited to see this grow, and I'm excited to see you next CES, next go around. So thanks, Agnes.
Absolutely. I'll see you there.
Cool. Thanks so much. This has been episode 26 of Elevation with Chris Orem. We will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.